Okay, so boom. Today we're going to talk about spiritual practices and specifically how Black Americans, right, engage in spiritual practice compared to how it was intended for us to engage with it, right? And this is important to talk about because it is a perfect example of how something that is meant to be abusive or meant to destabilize a people, if it itself is not bad, it can actually advance a people. It can heal a people. It can civilize a people, right? As long as it's used in the right utility. Utility is everything, right? It's very dangerous. The reason why this is very important to talk about, because it's dangerous to criminalize a practice that is for healing, for enlightenment of a people, as well as for civilizing a people. When we speak of righteousness, we're speaking of civilization. That is so dangerous. Even if you don't believe, you know what I'm saying? Even if you want to try to use the historical references of talking about how Jesus was, a political assassination. I seen someone talking about that recently. Like he wasn't this divine being and this, that, and the third. This is what people have to understand about spirituality. Just because they were doing something with it doesn't mean that's how the people were perceiving it, and that's not how it was actually impacted for their community. Does that make sense? So even if it was a political assassination, I don't even mean to be quotations, right? Of him giving faith to the people. He was breathing faith back into the people, right? And they wanted to assassinate him because the hope and faith he was invoking in the people, regardless if you believe in God or not, you know what I'm saying, was destabilizing their political and governmental rule. You understand? And so they assassinated him. Even if you want to say that, you can't debunk the fact that he was evoking faith and causing people to civilize themselves. You understand? You can't debunk the fact that he was healing people from their ailments. And even if not, you don't want to believe those stories in the book, people every day their minds is being reframed. It assists them. Not only does it assist them, but the more that people incline to a health base, a spiritual base, a practice of betterment, of good being, of good nature, of good neighboring, it naturally develops something that is real, right? It develops something that is beyond humans. You know what I'm saying? Important to be aware that they weren't given truths, but they still had to find truth within the lies. You understand? So a lot of people will try to use the aspect of like, well, this is a lie, try to find all the lies to debunk a person's faith, when if you want to actually judge someone's faith, it shouldn't be based upon the storytellings, right? Which I'm not going to debunk. This is something that's been since the beginning of time. People have used storytellings to teach lessons, to advance us. You understand? So I don't know why people be so up the ass about that specifically. But when it comes to actually trying to see if that's something that aligns to you, if it's something that's ethical, if it's something that's actually righteous, there are three things you need to be testing, right? Number one, you need to be asking, what is their definition of righteousness? What does that mean? What is righteousness compared to them? They have different definitions of righteousness, and you have to use your discernment, right? Some people, if they can't give you real world examples and relating that, if they can only use stuff from like 6,000 years ago, I wouldn't feel safe there. You understand? A lot of them are probably in psychosis or some type of, you know what I'm saying? That happens a lot of times. Number two, you need to be trying to figure out healing practices, right? So what exactly is their healing practice, right? Do they have a healing practice? How do they heal? What have they healed from, right? What have they experienced? You might want to watch everyone doesn't talk about their stuff, right? But a lot of times there's going to be talk, you know what I'm saying? Humans talk. So you kind of figure out what people are dealing with, how they're processing those things, how people are engaging with them. How is the community around them engaging with this person who's been traumatized or dealt with something specifically? For me, it's because I know that if I'm vulnerable or in my worst state, I can't trust you with that space. You understand? So if I can't trust you, if I hear you speaking of somebody who I know is vulnerable or traumatized state, and you're speaking very ignorantly, very uninformed, very kind of arrogant, feeling like betterment, like you feel empowered from their weakness, like that you're not in their space, that's not a safe person to be around, right? Because as soon as you fall off, they're gonna find some way to make up the social ladder on your downfall. What is the word? They're going to be trying to remove themselves from the situation slowly in different ways. Like you're just gonna see it slowly, but it's going to take a toll on your esteem. You know what I'm saying? It's not about them removing themselves. They have the right to leave. People can leave all they want to. They don't have to subscribe to anything. But it affects the person who is victimized and in a vulnerable state. And you need to put that on the pedestal regardless of that, right? You don't want to expose yourself to people who are not going to commit to those, who are delusional and don't acknowledge that humans and earth is dealt with traumatized people, right? They think that everybody out here is perfect and healed and top tap. You understand? Number three, the most important is, what is their practice of enlightenment, right? So when I talk about enlightenment is not just awareness of God, right? It's not just of me knowing spiritual. It's about knowing how spirit moves the room, how he interacts with people, how he connects people, how he I keep saying he. I grew up in the patriarchal. It doesn't affect me, but if it affects you, just interchange the word, the pronoun, however you want to. I say he. That's what I grew up with. But you want to learn, right? When it comes to enlightenment, are they teaching you how to incorporate spirit in the world around you? Are they teaching you how spirit shows up in earth, in these things in nature, how to connect yourself? How do you get involved, not just with your community, not just with the constructs they set up to kind of involve people? Are you actually going to be utilizing your human capacity? Are they teaching you how to do that, to get through conflict resolutions? Do they truly believe that God gave you everything that you need to get through those situations? So they're actually learning what tools you have in yourself to actually navigate these situations? Or are they just are they a business? You understand? Because if you're dealing with a business, like I said, what's going to happen is if you don't work and they can't help you, they're going to make it seem like you're the problem. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going to happen now because they got to save the business. You understand? So you want to make sure, are you dealing with people who are actually spiritualists or are they businessmen? That's the biggest thing. Enlightenment, righteousness, as well as their healing practices. Those are the main three things when you're trying to figure out if you want to join a denomination. You can always practice on your own, but I think it's very healthy. I can't speak for myself because I'm always by myself right now because I'm in a transitional period, but it's very healthy to commune with people, to be in a spiritual practice amongst people. That's that.